Do you ever play a game and think, that wasn't very good? And then later you're thinking about it and go, it probably wasn't that bad, I'm just overreacting. And then you play the game again and think, no, it actually was that bad, I was right the first time. Anyway, so today I'm playing SurvivalCraft. Now, I've played this game on the channel before. It was in the Weird Minecrafts ripoff video, and I can't say I loved it, but I still chose to rank it highly on the tier list because the game was objectively good, I think. In the video I said I probably would have hated the game less if I spent some more time learning about how to actually play it. And I'm gonna be honest, I didn't do that. At all. But I do think one of the main reasons I struggled so majorly during my first attempt is because I tried to play it like Minecraft. And while at a first glance the games look as though they would share many similarities, they actually don't really at all. Instead of thinking of SurvivalCraft as another Minecraft clone, it's probably better to think of it as a survival game that borrows Minecraft's aesthetic. And because of this reason, I decided that I should give it a second chance. Also, quick disclaimer, I'm playing on the same world that I played on during the Minecraft ripoffs video, so if you didn't see that video or you just need a refresher, I'm going to quickly go over the main events that happened during the last time I played. I loaded in as a character who I named Herb Boy, and then was immediately abandoned by my supposed shipmates. I mined a tree and built what is possibly the most sorry excuse for a house I have ever made in a game like this. I then tried to sleep in said house and woke up to every animal on this side of the equator trying to eat my face. Most of which succeeded. Several times. I fell into a grass trap while trying to find food, and in a last-ditch effort I ate a moldy pumpkin which resulted in very severe food poisoning that lasted roughly 3 in-game days. I tried to eat kelp but was unsuccessful, and finally I killed a boar which supplied me with enough food to not die for like 2 days. And then I logged off. Now that we're all caught up, it's time to play some SurvivalCraft. One of the first things I did after loading in was start to collect materials. I had big plans for this playthrough. I was going to build a farm, renovate my house, go exploring, you know, typical survival game things. These things proved to be so much harder than I thought they would be. You think about making a farm in Minecraft. And I know I said that the games aren't actually that similar, but I will still be comparing them because I want to. That's literally the only reason. Anyway, you think about making a farm in Minecraft. You punch some grass to get seeds, you craft a hoe and maybe a bucket, you till the ground near some water and you plant the seeds. In SurvivalCraft it's pretty similar, but still different enough to be kind of frustrating. Firstly, you can't just break any grass to get seeds, you have to break rye, and that has a chance of dropping wild rye, which can then be planted to grow rye. This can also be done with other plants like cotton and pumpkins. Now this is fine within itself, but it was when I wanted to make a bucket so I could build my farm somewhere other than right next to a river was when things started to get a little annoying. In SurvivalCraft you need 3 copper ingots to make a bucket, and while copper is practically everywhere in Minecraft, I found it unbelievably hard to find in SurvivalCraft. After mining for around 10 minutes, all of my digging tools had broken, so I returned to the surface to craft some more. Once I left the mine, I got hopelessly distracted, because that's what I do, and decided I wanted to fix up my house. To start off, I wanted to surround a small portion of land around my house with a fence, and while I was getting wood for the fence, I may have stayed in the tree for a little too long because the sun set. I figured it wouldn't be a problem because my house was only a few blocks away. Well, boy was I wrong. There are a few wolves near my house, which is never ideal but also not a massive issue because I guess I thought I could just run around them and avoid the conflict altogether. At least that's before they approached me, set themselves on fire, blue fire might I add, and transformed into werewolves. What is happening? Why was it glowing blue? Why was the wolf glowing blue? When was that a part of the game? I thought it was supposed to be at least semi-realistic survival, and last time I checked, werewolves aren't real, so what's going on there, developers? I also have a bit of an issue with this game's werewolves just in terms of standard mythology. Werewolves are humans that turn into a wolf or wolf-like creatures during the full moon. SurvivalCraft's werewolves are wolves that turn into bipedal wolves on the full moon and the new moon, and according to the Wikipedia page, sometimes whenever they want. I had just started building my new house when I encountered werewolves for a second time. My fence was complete, and just as I had laid down the foundations for my house, the sun started setting. So I ran back to my old house and went to sleep, only to be woken up and immediately killed by a werewolf. Scratch that, 3 werewolves. And while this may be hard to believe, I actually successfully killed all of them. It's just as shocking to me as it probably is to you, trust me. The next in-game day I finished building my new house and finally remembered that I was supposed to be looking for copper, but not before I got the flu. Apparently I got too cold, even though being cold doesn't cause the flu. Anyway, after recovering from that, I ventured back into the mines hoping that this time I would actually find some copper. And I did. I found 2 ore blocks in the ceiling of an underground cave that was filled with lava. While ignoring Herb Boy's undeniable signs of heat stroke, I carefully bridged across the lava and collected the copper. After returning to my home mostly unharmed, I smelted the copper into ingots and went to craft a bucket. Except I couldn't. I'm not smart enough to make a bucket. As it turns out in this game, not only do you have to go through the lengthy process of finding the materials to craft with, you also have to be a certain level to craft certain things. So I had to spend what was probably another half hour trying to collect enough experience points just so I could craft a bucket. So the main way of getting experience points is to kill animals. You can get them in other ways, but that's the most efficient one. Now, in case you haven't already noticed, I'm very bad at combat in this game. Partially because of my lack of resources, but mostly because of my lack of skill. Also, virtually everything in this game is hostile, and it doesn't make it easier that a bunch of information about the animals is super misleading. For instance, camels are described on their Wikipedia page as mildly aggressive, but on a different page, they're described as non-dangerous. And the page on beluga whales is even worse. All on the same page, it's described as non-aggressive, semi-hostile, and very hostile. Which is it? While trying to get more experience, I kept running low on food, and in an attempt to get more, I threw a seagull egg on the floor of my house in the hope that it would hatch and lay eggs for me, in return giving me a renewable food source. And while the egg did hatch, the seagull did not lay any eggs, which was disappointing, but it was nice to have some company. Hello. I know you hate me. After what was probably another 15 minutes of hunting, I was finally at level 2 so I could actually craft a bucket. After that, I made my farm, which after all that work I didn't even really want to anymore. But with my new farm and house complete, I was ready to log off. Now, I went into this recording hoping to firstly end my hatred towards SurvivalCraft, and secondly, answer some of the questions that I was left with the last time I played. So before I wrap this video up, I want to go through my new thoughts on the game now that I've played it a second time. To start off with, I don't think that my feelings towards SurvivalCraft has changed much. While I definitely died less and was more productive than I was last time, the game was still at a level of difficulty that I don't really want to take the time to overcome. Yeah, I know I should get specialized tools made out of metal, but I don't know how to get metal. And I still feel that I ended my playthrough with more questions than answers. Firstly, to address the difficulty issue, I am inclined to think that my opinion on the level of difficulty in really any game is more based on my personal opinions more than anything else. Often when I play games, I want to play them for fun, not to be heavily challenged every time I try to do anything. At the very least, I think there should be a balance, and I'm not sure if SurvivalCraft is quite there yet. For example, after recording the gameplay for this video, I found out that certain crops actually need to be fertilized in order to grow, which is annoying because now I don't think some of the things in my farm will actually grow. That is, if I ever play SurvivalCraft again. Another thing which I mentioned earlier is the overwhelming amount of hostile animals. If you look through the creatures list on the Wikipedia page, you'll see that 27 of the 46 animals are marked as dangerous, and that's already more than half. But if you look through again, you might notice that there are asterisks next to some of the animals that are marked as non-dangerous. And if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, it says, this animal is generally passive, but there is a chance that it will retaliate when injured by the player or another animal. That means it's dangerous. If it can cause me any physical harm, then it is dangerous. And if we're also counting these animals as dangerous, which I am, then that makes 34 of the 46 animals capable of killing the player. And personally, I think that is too many. And yes, it makes sense that attacking almost any animal would result in retaliation. But in a game like this, it doesn't always seem necessary. Like I mentioned in the last video where I played SurvivalCraft, there are a lot of things to keep track of. And I have a newfound hatred for the cold and wetness features specifically, mainly because they don't make very much sense. For starters, getting cold seems to be a more prominent feature than getting hot. The best way to combat this is to wear more clothes, which is actually logical, but it's when you get wet when this starts to become a problem. Any clothing that you're wearing loses its insulation while you're wet, and your temperature will drop faster. But changing into different clothes doesn't help with this. I'm pretty sure the reasoning behind this is the player is wet, not the clothing, so changing it won't fix anything. And if you thought it couldn't get more confusing, then don't you worry, because it does. So based on the information we have so far, getting wet makes you cold, so logically if you're overheating and you jump into water, you'll be alright. Except it doesn't do that, which just completely contradicts what I thought I knew. I also want to talk about combat just generally. Like, why do I have to miss so many hits? Missing the occasional one? Sure, that makes sense. You're likely to miss every once in a while. But some weapons can cause you to miss up to 50% of your hits. I think if a game is going to have a feature like this, there should be an option to turn it off, because when this is combined with the very little knockback that you cause, combat becomes really hard. As I said earlier, playing this game for a second time still left me with more questions than answers, and while I probably don't have time to go through all of them, I am going to list my top 3. Firstly, why do the game modes jump straight from harmless to challenging? There is no middle ground and that annoys me. Secondly, why does standing in the rain cause me to become completely wet? And why is that making me cold when I'm blatantly in a tropical area? Finally, and this is probably the most important question that I have, why do the cows look like that? Most of the other animals seem to be decently accurate when compared to their real-life counterparts, so why do the cows look like that? To be more specific, why do they have front-facing eyes? Front-facing eyes are generally seen in predators, and animals that are more commonly prey have eyes on the sides of their head because it gives them better peripheral vision. Also, cows in real life don't have eyes like that, so why are they like this in SurvivalCraft? You might be thinking, don't cows in Minecraft have front-facing eyes as well? And the answer is yes. But Minecraft also has living skeletons that are skilled at archery, so I don't think that realism is really the top priority there. Anyway, that's about all I've got for this video. If you want to see me play more SurvivalCraft, let me know in the comments and I probably will. Otherwise, I'll let Herboy live out the rest of his life with his seagull and we'll leave it at that. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope to see you in the next one. You are close to starvation. I'm always close to starvation. It's just the way it is. It's just a fact of life. Fun fact of life. Always close to starvation.